What's going on, everybody? Welcome back for another episode of the Crane Kicks Lex podcast. We're joining you once again after some good news. So we got good news carrying us into this podcast. So been a couple weeks and we have some good stuff to report, some exciting things going on. But let's check in. Let's do a pulse check with everybody. Kyle, I know you got to have some exciting times. I don't know. I mean, they qualify as exciting for me whenever I take my kids. What have you been up to here lately?
We've officially entered into fall, even though it's 90 something degrees outside, or it was at least. We went
Now
to
it's
get,
fallish.
and it is fall-ish now. We went to get some
Yeah.
pumpkins at Huber's in Southern Indiana, one of our favorite places to go, actually, where Lindsay and I got married. So a little,
Oh, fun
you know,
fact.
little fun
CKL
fact.
trivia.
Well, CKL trivia for in the off season when we do the trivia, and that's on that's on there. So yeah, we picked some pumpkins on Sunday. Of course, some folks know I work at Center College. It was our homecoming on Saturday, and
Sorry.
it was also Bourbon Chase weekend. So if you saw some people looking crazy running on the side of a road in Central Kentucky, that was going on. So yeah, it was a
You're
busy
like
weekend
midnight,
for
right?
us.
Did you do
Yeah,
one of the night shifts?
I didn't have too bad. I had a 9:30 p.m. run and then like a 6 a.m. run. So I actually kind of lucked out with mine. Both I avoided
Yeah.
major heat and I avoided like wee hours. So
Yeah.
didn't win though. Uh, so
It,
our
you
team
know,
is still defeated. We finished 80th.
well,
So
I guess
always
now we'll
next
just
year.
have to train for next year and then we'll do the CKL team. And
Finished
then
80th, which was a few spots higher than you in the Stein hoisting group, is what I heard.
I
So
knew you were gonna do it.
can we
That's
hear? Let's
harsh.
hear about that, maybe.
Okay, yeah. So this is the Stein. If you didn't get one,
It's a
mine
good
it
looking
just has
Stein.
water with like some electrolyte powder in it, so nothing fancy. I had two mini Steins yesterday. I had to get Steins for these guys; they couldn't get theirs, so I secured the bag for my dudes. Sacrificed my body in the process to do so. So first off, let's just put that out there while you're besmirching my name in the Stein hoisting competition, Kyle. But no, it was really fun. I showed up. I was a little worried because there weren't many people there at first, but I got there kind of early because they had all those specials going on, and I wanted to make sure I got a Stein, and I wanted to be in that Stein hoisting competition. I ran into Bailey, who works for the club, and I was like, "Okay, what's up?" And she's like, "You're here for the Stein hoisting? You know it." She starts telling me the prizes. I'm like, "I don't even care. I'm ready to just compete. I want to win just for the sake of winning. Doesn't even matter that you have prizes." They didn't tell us that, like, so the Steins you got with your beer that you purchased from Wessex, they are plastic, which is fine. That's great. Love it. No problem. The ones in the competition are glass. Some Stein hoisting competitions I've seen, you hold it straight out, and a lot of times it's just one arm. Okay, cool, whatever. And then I realized it was two, and you had to hold them straight out, like full stretch, arms locked and everything. This is going to sound like an excuse, but it is in fact a fact. I have extreme tendonitis in my left elbow, and so doing that type of stuff is terrible. So Tasha, my wife, was like, "You can back out. It's okay." I was like, "No, it's fine." And of course, she's like, "Okay, well, I'm going to hear you complain about it for the next 2 months or something while I supply you with ibuprofen." But I did it. I jumped in there. There were a lot of people, men and women, joined in. I think there was something like, I don't know, 10-ish competitors. I feel like I was up front, so I didn't really get a good count of everybody behind me. I was like, let's just go front and center with this thing. We picked them up. They told us to do the arms lock. I had them out, and we got, I don't know, I think they said it was somewhere around 3 minutes in or so. And then, like, I'm sitting here shaking like crazy. And then I see people on my peripheral like doing the same. And eventually I hear everybody being like, "Okay, that you're out, you're out." And I start looking around, everybody's dropping, and I'm like, "I gotta hold on." And they're trying to get us to walk around while we're doing it. I'm like, "I'm not walking. I'm having enough trouble just holding these things still and not bending my arms." And then eventually I was like, "All right, I can't do it anymore." I was feeling a little too much, and I set them down. And I think just after that, Mike with the Railbirds, he did his shortly after, as well as one other guy. And then there were two dudes facing off for another 30 seconds. And a guy, Philip, was his name? I don't know what his last name is, but he's a hero to the people now. He won. He just went for it. So I didn't get the dub. I tried my hardest. I think I was like somewhere in the upper middle of the pack. But now the training begins. I'm gonna start taking my performance enhancers and only doing exercises related to Stein hoisting. So I'm ready for next year. That's all I'm doing is exclusive Stein hoisting exercises. That's it. So I'm sorry, I failed this. But
Yeah, maybe next year. Maybe you can. What was the winning time? Do you know?
I did not hear the actual time, dude. It had to have been over 3 minutes because I remember
Yeah,
we were 3 minutes in whenever I was struggling, and then I kind of like zoned out because I
yeah.
focused so hard.
I
And
simply wouldn't have. I just wouldn't have like dropped it. I would have just held it out the whole time. Did you think
yes,
about just not
I thought about
like
that.
not doing that? Yeah.
I thought about just not losing. I
Right.
considered it very
Okay.
deeply. And whenever I was searching in my soul, I was like, you know what? Just it'll make for a great story on the pod.
Mhm.
Better than winning because nobody likes a smug winner. Everybody likes that humble storyline of I gave it my best and I came up short, but I had a lot of heart when I did it. So that's
Mhm.
what I chose to go with.
Okay.
It's respectable, right? You're not answering.
Dylan,
I'm
what have you
saying
been
it's
up to?
respectable. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm weird and I won't talk until I've been introed, so that's why I've been silent the whole time.
Whoa,
But
fancy
no.
pants here. I won't speak unless I've been introduced.
So wait, if we should do a whole like hour-long podcast and just never say Dylan's name, and he's just sitting there like, "Come on, tap
Like, I wonder if
me
there's
in."
any other opinions on this, huh?
Yeah,
I don't
yes,
know.
there
What do
are
you think,
none.
Kyle?
I was just waiting for the opportune moment, it just didn't arise.
Yeah. Plus, I ramble. Yeah, Dylan, what's up, man?
Nothing much. I've been pretty busy lately. I've been traveling, so had to attend to some things. It's funny. Last episode, I went on my big rant about probably my one of my biggest passions in life that I really need people to get behind, and that you have to keep in the right lane and pass in the left lane, and don't stay in the left lane. Just once you pass that car, get back over. And so I was like reliving, my own nightmare many times over the past week. So I just want to get that message out there again and make it clear to everyone, please, because I don't feel like I was heard. I
Oh, you
feel like
were. That's why they're doing it. That's why it was worse.
I
They heard
know
you on here and they're
it did
tormenting you.
feel it did feel that way. It did feel like
Personal attack.
the karmic shift was happening to me or something. So,
Yeah. Oh, it was. It was. Well,
yeah.
I'm sorry. One day, it'll be over and everybody will figure it out. And then they'll build a statue to you at the transportation department.
You know what really gets me though is there's signs. Like especially in Kentucky, there are signs like every now and then that will say it, and it's like, can these people not read? If they can't read, they shouldn't be driving.
Just make it so Siri screams it at people when they're passing the signs. And that way they hear it. Maybe it's just that they're audible learners,
Maybe.
and you
Maybe.
interrupt their listen to the Crank Kick Selects podcast with the message because they're maybe not hearing you clear enough. But then Siri kind of comes in with that crazy robotic voice, like the Irish robotic voice. She has like an Irish voice now. I got the new update in the new phone, and I'm like, is that always there? So I know you'd be a big fan of that, Dylan.
I would.
You'd be over the moon. So maybe that's just the move. I don't know, dude.
So I guess the message we're saying is share this podcast with your friends so they get the message, not just because of our soccer takes, but because of my message of keep right, pass left.
Yeah, this is a traffic podcast now. That's
Yeah.
all we do is talk about traffic patterns.
We are the
And,
number one traffic
n-
podcast.
now let's transition into talking about the R cut in front of the stadium. Now, you guys ready? No.
It works pretty well.
Yeah,
It works
hey,
very
it
well.
does. It does. I know. I was freaked out by it, but it works great.
It is pretty
Oh no, we're
daunting when
doing
you
it.
first arrive to it, but then once you go through it, you're like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, that's how
it
it should
makes
work.
sense,
Yeah.
and it's so easy. Yeah,
Yeah.
except for like the U turn at the light. The U turn's a little tight, somebody's almost like hit me once going
Yeah,
on that. I'm like,
you're a bad
this is-
driver.
yeah. Well, it's just like a real tight Yui when they have the 2 lanes next to each other. Ugh, that one stresses me out a little bit, but everything else is cool. Yeah. All right. I'm ready for some soccer talk. I spent the day in Louisville at the zoo. Took my family. It was a beautiful day. Got to see all the animals, ride the carousel about 40 million times. But that's what we all go there for anyway, just carousel riding. And so I got to stare at Lou City stickers all day and just think, in the future, this will be like legit enemy territory. But we won't worry about that now. That's a little bit too much of a scary talk. So let's talk about stuff that's more recent, more pressing. Let's start off like last time we went with the Super League squad first. Let's flip-flop it. Let's talk about the USL1 squad and results. And we actually have a lot of questions related to the USL1 squad this time. We've got 4 pretty solid ones that I think we can kind of dive into after this. So this past weekend, we had our last edition of the Green Team Gauntlet with Greenville Triumph. I really, really wanted to go. I had plans to go until, of course, all the things involving the disasters with the hurricane occurred. And, talking to people out there, a lot of the city still doesn't have power. And it's probably good I didn't go anyway because the match ended up being behind closed doors at Clemson. So I wouldn't have been able to go even if I had made the trip all the way to Greenville. So wouldn't have mattered. But it was kind of a bummer. I was hoping to kind of like see that one out because that's been a particularly fun matchup for me. I've really enjoyed it a whole lot. I think that's been one of our more natural rivalries. I've said that many times, at least from my perspective. I think it's had all the drama, all the storylines, and this one even deepened it. But we'll get into that here in a second. So we had this match coming out. I know we posted our predictions. We all made predictions just for the remainder of the season, our last 4 games. I think you guys both correctly predicted a loss. It hurts me to say that. You correctly predicted a loss. I said we could draw.
Kyle got the exact number right. Yep, score.
Stop being so excited about that, Dylan. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Too excited. No.
Yeah. Shout out Gio. He was like, hey, respect. And I was like, no.
I'm just giving my boy Kyle some credit because he got it right. That. So,
hey, you know what? Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
You and Gio can pump Kyle up for his correct prediction of our loss and keep this flowing. Those of you guys listening that don't know who Gio is, he works for the Triumph and he is the biggest troll ever, but I love him. He's a good guy, but he's absolutely the one that will bully you online if you lose. And so now I'm sitting here fielding all of those random memes that he decided to make. And it hurts. It hurts. But hey, when we get into this game though, like I actually felt okay. I thought we could do a draw. I started kind of thinking, you know what? Maybe vibes are right. Maybe we can get a win. I even posted that with our prediction. I was like, it's going to be a draw, but maybe things will just be in our favor. And it felt like that at first. It felt like that at first in this game. I know we didn't get the win, and I know we've struggled with maybe finishing out games, and that's the truth. But I will say, and I don't know if you guys felt the same, and you definitely have time to speak your piece. I think that the first half, we looked pretty solid. I don't think that we looked terrible. I think that Greenville had a lot of chances, which was scary. But they also have a lot of really good playmakers. But I think that we kind of went toe-to-toe with them overall. It's just we didn't have a lot of chances on goal, which wasn't great. In fact, our only opportunity that ends up paying off is we have an own goal from Jamie Smith, which I don't know about you all, but that just warmed my heart. That warmed my heart. I was just like, oh my gosh. I texted buddies in Greenville and I was like, you all have to do me a favor. You have to ask Jamie what he's done to become so intertwined in this rivalry. He cannot escape it. No matter what, whether it be good or bad, his name will be highlighted in our matches against each other. And I don't know what it is. I feel like Jamie Smith has one of those monkey's paw situations where he found the monkey paw and he's like, okay, help me get goals for the green team. And so then the monkey's paw is like, 1 goal for Greenville, now 1 for Lexington. And it just kind of keeps going back and forth. Because now he's had 2 heartbreaking last-minute goals against us that have stolen points from us. And then this season, he's had the assist, the backheel assist to Ates that got us a win against Greenville in Greenville. And then he had that own goal in this match that got us our only goal. So man, this dude is he is wrapped up in it big time, and I'm gonna miss him. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. Like it's hard to come by those like pure, genuine villains that you feel like this is the bane of our club's existence right here, personified. And we found it, and now we lost it. Now we have to find somebody new, which is kind of a bummer for me. But I don't know. What are you guys' first impressions of the starting of the match, like the first 45 or so?
I have to say, like on the Jamie Smith thing, I will miss him too in the league. He is someone who, like, at Toyota Stadium, I heckled a ton. Like
Yeah.
I gave it to him a ton. Like every which way. Like I remember there was a play he was running against Nico, and he kind of like fell and tried to get an injury, like a foul called on and we went and we scored off that. And when
Yeah.
he came back up, I said, oh, I really gave it to him. I was like, oh, you were faking it, and everything. So I'll miss those moments too, like it
Yeah.
was fun having him. But like in terms of the game, I've seen the song and dance before, like we go into halftime, like kind of struggling at the end there. Like, we build up some momentum to start out the game, we get a goal, and then we're conceding a lot of chances to Greenville in the box, like very, very close. And it keeps happening. And it's just like so many of those chances are occurring, and one is bound to go in, and we're just like so thankful that halftime is called. But then no adjustments are made during halftime to fix that, and then we get scored on twice, and we lose the game. And that's just a reoccurring theme to this season and how the team has played all season. It's just like halftime is like nothing, it's like nothing to us basically. Kyle, I don't know how you feel about the situation as well.
No, yeah, it felt like a scripted match from like our
Yes.
2024. Like, it was like a textbook match for Lexington in this season. And even though it was one that two of us correctly predicted would be a loss, it was definitely one that felt like could be a victory or at least a result, draw. And it just seemed like a wasted opportunity. But that's, time's running out on this team. And, to me, it was really cool kind of seeing the own goal. And I know that that's maybe not like a cool thing to say, like sportsmanship, et cetera. Like, you don't want to celebrate own goals, but I was fine with Smith's own goal, and that was kind of neat heading into the halftime. And then it was like second half, like Dylan said, no adjustments, 2 goals scored within 6 minutes. Like, just I feel like that's the way it's happened against this Lexington team this year, where it's like it almost like you work for so long to get to a certain point, and then it's just like in the blink of an eye, like boom, 2 goals in the first 6 minutes within maybe, I don't know, 3.5 minutes of each other. So yeah, it was a bummer. Now, second goal was obviously class, nothing you could do about it. But yeah, it was a bummer to see, the team kind of fall into that same old song and dance, like Dylan said.
Yeah. And it's a bummer to me too, because some of these other like losses that we've suffered, it involve like a lot of breakdowns on our part. This one, I think, stunk in my mind because it felt like what do you do? The first one is an own goal. Like it just clips Kalen's shoulder. Like, you know what I mean? And it looks like maybe the angle's bad, but it looks like it's not going in unless it clips his shoulder. And I see what he's trying to do. He's trying to get back to that goal line because Amal's out of goal.
It
And
looked
he's
like he was
trying
going
to
wide, and he
right.
he kind of like,
And then it just pops
yeah.
off his left shoulder as he's running.
Mm-hmm.
And and he was trying to get back there to be a barrier, and then that just deflected in. And it's like, you hate to say like it's sucky bad luck, but it's just, Jamie's was sucky bad luck. Although I will say, if Jamie wasn't where he was, Chris's goal is going in. Like that service from Nico was perfect as usual. He's been fired up, man. Like all those services he keeps delivering from out wide are insane. Sorry, that's a side tangent. But then Chris, that header was on point. If Jamie's not there, it's going in no matter what. On the flip side, that goal against us is not going in unless it clips off of Kalen. And, there's not much he could do on that. I see what he was trying to do defensively. Just really, really bad luck on that. And some people give me a hard time for saying bad luck, but it is. Like sometimes it's just like it doesn't sync up right. You know what I mean? And his momentum was too much. He couldn't like duck. He couldn't stop. He was already in motion. And then that second goal, you're right, it was class. I don't think anybody thought he was going to take that shot because you see like Yannick turn and look at him and then start going his way. And then you see the moment that Yannick is like, oh, damn, he's about to shoot this. And he speeds up a little bit, but by then it's too late. And he takes that shot and it just goes right in. So I'm not really sure what you do besides step to him quicker. But again, not many people are going to take that type of shot and then score off of it. So it was a big time bummer to see. I will say defensively, a lot of our guys in the back line had a really good game statistically. I know that sounds like a bad consolation prize. But I feel like, their passing was on point. It was like for many of them, let me look at this real quick. Modesto had like 89% accuracy. Jorge had 100%. Kalen had 95. They all had several clearances, several duels won. So I feel like our back line was playing really well. Amal had 12 recoveries. He had 4 saves, and all 4 of them came from within like the box, like shots taken right there. So between Amal and the defense, there was a pretty solid performance overall statistically. This one just, I don't know. It felt weirder to me than some of the other ones. Some of the other ones were more frustrating to me because it was like, what are we doing? Why did we make this decision? Why did we do this? And then this one is like, I kind of played sound enough to try and see out some sort of result, and we couldn't.
Earlier in the season, I said that we have a problem where this happens. The defense plays well, and like Amal has a great game, but the offense doesn't score enough to let the defense off the hook. And that's been a part of the theme of the season, right? That's been like one of the tones. And that's, again, the same song and dance, here. We're just not scoring enough, putting enough pressure on Greenville. Greenville is putting a lot of pressure on our defense. And, that's how we end up conceding those goals, regardless if they're, spectacular goals or if they're own goals off Fox. We put ourselves in a position to allow those, and just we have all season. So that's my rebuttal to your luck in a way.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, and you're right, man, because like if we are offensively doing what we need to do, then those things don't really matter, right? Because you look at the first half stats, we had 2 shots with only 1 on goal. And then like for the whole entire match, I think it was like 6 shots, like 4 on goal, I believe. You might want to double check me, but I feel like it was a pretty low number for both. And most of it comes a little bit later. And when I say later, I mean, we're talking after we make a slew of subs, which we made like ridiculous numbers of subs like all at once. It was just kind of like throwing the kitchen sink all of a sudden, which I understand you got to make some changes to try and see if you can find something that's going to work. It's just a bummer that we couldn't find something to work in the first place. I just feel, to your point, Dylan, we've had so many matches where we can't break the other team down. All we can do is absorb, and hope we get a breakaway, hope we score. But there's only so much you can absorb, right? Eventually, sponge is so full of water that the water just leaks onto the counter, and you can't do much more for it. It just – these were big points to drop. And now we're going away to Omaha. And Omaha had a goose egg against Richmond. But I feel like Richmond is a different team these past few games because they've all of a sudden injected all these young players from their academy into the squad. And I feel like those academy players,
they have something to play for.
Yeah. And I don't want to like say that their players that they had before weren't playing hard, but I feel like those academy players are very fired up and they're young kids and they want those opportunities bad.
Chemistry plays.
they have to earn their spot. They aren't pros. They just now got their chance at the pros, and so they have a lot to prove, and they're going to leave it all out there. And so maybe that's what's changed Richmond's fortunes. Richmond has an easy road from now on, and they're the ones that are higher up the table now. So they're the ones currently in the 8th spot, and their road is not tough now. Like their opponents that they have left over versus ours. Ours isn't so great. We have Omaha, we have Charlotte, and we have Chattanooga, which Chattanooga doesn't worry me that much. Omaha and Charlotte, we've struggled to get those results against them. I don't know. It just feels like this was one of those games where Greenville's form matched ours. For scary as they were at the beginning of the season, going into this, I outlined it in my match preview. There was a lot of things lined up with the number of losses, number of draws, number of wins in the past like 5-ish games. Greenville hasn't really been winning since late July. They've gotten a couple and then like a couple draws, and that's really it. So I feel like that was our time to strike and, take it to them and say, okay, here's our chance for 3 points against a playoff team. And we just couldn't make it happen. We couldn't finish them off. And I just, I can't say that I don't think the guys played hard. I do feel like the guys played hard in this one. But something's not working, and I don't know how to fix it at this point, because I worry that we're getting to this stage where, with the playoffs being so much further out of reach, they're still attainable. Like we could still make it happen, but we need so many favors from other teams that that those chances are slipping. And I just worry that it's gotten to the point where the demoralization is going to set in even deeper and be like, man, like the season is pretty much done for us. But I don't know.
I like that.
I don't know.
I like that you're like, I'm worried, and Dylan's like, where were you in July when I was worried? Like,
I know. Man, you know me. I'm even optimistic right now. I'm even like, there's a chance, guys.
Well, there is a chance. I mean,
had a
mathematically.
0-0, but
Omaha, they obviously you want to be the top seed, but a team that's clinched and they're 4 points clear right now, top of the table. So it's, not to say that you're not going to try, but maybe you catch someone that's, or a team that's, maybe looking to kind of coast into the playoffs a little bit, whether it's resting legs or whatever. But it's there's the urgency. Look at the calendar; it's already October, and you're running out of time.
Yeah, and I think maybe to emphasize my point, and this isn't to come at any players, you know what I mean? Because I also understand, like, at some point you see somebody 20 yards ahead of you and you're just like, whatever. But one of the, like, worrisome signals to me was around the 83rd minute in the game. Tate sends in a cross. It gets played back out. Chris Lou Young gets it. He tries to send it out wide to Cerritos, and it gets intercepted, and 4 Greenville players take off. And so Chris and Alexis, they run back with them. They're trying to cover Hayden Anderson, who has the ball. They're trying to put the pincers on him and shut him down so he can't get a shot off. But you quickly realize that once they get to the halfway points of the field, like once they're at the midline, there aren't any other Lexington players running with them. It's all Greenville players, and then Chris Lou Young and Alexis Cerritos trying to stop this goal from happening. And thank goodness Anderson keeps the ball himself, because there were 3 players making outside runs with nobody covering them. And all he had to do was lay that ball off into open space, and one of those 3 get a hold of it. And then Amal's in trouble. He's facing 3 players potentially with options. And I was just kind of thinking, it's like, man, like I know it would have been hard to catch them. And I know that there were some tired legs, but I also know there were a lot of guys that had just subbed in maybe 10-ish minutes before. So their legs were pretty fresh. And me as a fan, I would have loved to have seen them busting their ass to try and get down to that side of the field. I think that would have done a lot for me as a fan to see that. But I don't know. I think that was the moment where I was like, man, maybe morale is what's kind of holding back that extra little push in us right now. Maybe that's the difference. I don't know. And I'm not trying to add to bad morale by, saying, hey, these guys don't want to do it or they can't do it. But it just was one of those things where I'm like, could that have been a little different? You know what I mean? Could it have been made a little tougher on Greenville? And I know we were already down, but we were trying to at least tie. and and that was very scarily close to it being 3-1 instead of 2-1 that late in the game. But I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe I'm expecting too much from the players, thinking that they could have, made up that distance. But it just felt like Greenville was much quicker to react on that counter. And then we were caught just kind of standing and being like, oh, they're off. Well, I can't catch them now. Instead of immediately being like, oh, dang, they have the ball. We need to like hustle down the other end of the field. So I don't know, guys. I'm still holding strong with my last 3 predictions. I still think Omaha is going to be dicey. I know I predicted a loss like you guys did. I think we will be lucky to get points out of it. I know that they're a playoff team already, and they're solidly they're clinched. They're good, and so it might be possible that we pull something out against them. But it doesn't feel super hopeful knowing what they can do. The last 2, I think it's possible we get a win. Charlotte, we've caught them vulnerable before. We just couldn't quite finish them off. Chattanooga, we've had their number all season, so they don't really scare me too much, even with things going on. I don't know though. I don't know, guys. It's not looking great for that number 8 spot right now. But hope is still alive. So I'm not saying give up hope. It's just the darkness is closing in. And like the I told you so's from Dylan and Kyle are closing in with it. They're like echoing around me. It's like it gets darker, and I'm like, I'm scared. Somebody save me.
I tried to. I was on your team here for like the last month or so, but it gets to a point where you just run out of time. You run,
Yeah.
Like I said, you look at the calendar, and it gets late early, as they say. But I will, if I can say one thing, and if Gio's listening, Gio, take your headphones off or stop listening for a second.
He's going to listen to it anyway.
He is like that.
Stop listening. No, I'm asking just like man-to-man, Gio, stop listening.
Ooh, okay, he pulled a man-to-man. You gotta abide.
Now that he's not listening.
Now that he's not listening.
Those lilac kits, they look real nice. They look really nice.
Why'd you say that? He's listening. He's clipping this right now.
They're good looking kids. I'm sorry. They look.
I know.
They look good. Hey, you know what? They look even better when they're not on a football field. So
there you go. Don't clip that part out, Gio.
Yeah.
Include that if you're going to use it at all. Put that whole thing in there, man.
Put the whole thing in there. Can you guys imagine playing on football lines?
No.
I couldn't.
Man.
Couldn't be me. Couldn't be my team.
Feels like just a fever dream playing on football lines.
I know.
It's some weird American thing. I don't know. That's strange. Could never be us. Well, hey, so I don't know. There's a lot to be said about this game, and there's not much to be said at this game all at the same time. I feel like the lot to be said is things that have already been said about other matches that have gone similarly. So let's jump into some questions, because our questions that we have deal with the USL one side specifically. So I feel like this is a good transition point. Let's jump into these. We'll tackle these questions, and then let's talk some Super League stuff, because Super League gave us a little bit extra oomph this weekend. So we'll save that for last so we can end on a high note. Does that sound good?
And last question, do the fun one, like a cheery one, so we can get the bad questions out of the way.
Yeah.
Not bad questions. Not bad questions in terms of like
No.
Yeah.
Not
negative.
quality. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
The ones that make you feel icky to have to answer. Yeah. Especially me, because you know how I am. I'm always like, I don't want to say anything bad about anybody, but sorry, I'm just like that. Tender soul. Anyway, let's do the hardest one in my opinion. So Matthew Becknell, he regularly sends us some questions in. We can always count on him. He likes to ask some hard questions too. He's asked a couple recently that I'm like, okay, getting the sweats here. So he's asking, realistically, how many players do you think make the championship roster next year? You guys want to go for it, Dylan?
So my confident answer is only one person, right? That's my confident answer. And the reason I'm confident is because they have confirmed that.
Okay.
If you guys,
Well, oh, you're talking about like kind of reading between the lines. And we don't have to necessarily name names if you don't want. I think it's more of just like, do you think that there's like this many or, but I know who you're talking about.
Okay. I mean,
if you want to name some names of people you think are a lock, that's fine with me.
Okay.
I'll probably be general.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Altez is probably a lock for sure. And I think Amal as well.
Okay.
Those who I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Kyle, what do you think of, man? Like the question was just how many do you think? You don't have to name specifics if you don't want, or if you want to go Dylan's route.
Yeah. Dylan's route being all mysterious and
yeah, I'm sorry. Like I don't know.
No,
I
you'll be
sorry.
sorry.
In a different way, I guess.
No, you're good, man.
I mean,
that's fine. There's nothing wrong with naming.
I feel like I put the over under at like 6.5, maybe 5.5.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it is tough. It's one of those where you have to balance not only the contracts and perhaps promises made to certain players, and I think Dylan was alluding to one of them.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about.
Yeah, that come to the club, given certain expectations, right? And so it's not all based on just like what did you do this season, but if you factor in what did you do this season, mixed with some fan favorite, etc. But you also have to look at the fact that this is a club that finished, or perhaps will finish bottom, third of the table, 2 consecutive seasons in League One. So you start looking at a lot of the factors that play into that result, and so it's it starts looking a little bit bleak, I think, for some of the players on the fringe there. But I would say I'd probably put the over under at like 5.5 players. And again, it's going to be some of those bigger ticket players that that came into the team this season, and then some of the ones that fortunately have flourished in the last couple of years at Lexington. And I hope to see players like Amal and Altez continue to progress their career by moving up a level with Lexington.
Yeah. And you're right. There's so many factors like contractually. And then you also have to look at like, okay, there are certain players that may have had a second year option that have barely played this season, or maybe not at all. And it's hard to imagine that they're going to be staying around. I don't know. It's also, it raises questions, players that we had last year that we brought with us this year that have either not featured at all for the first team or had minimal minutes, whether or not they want to stick around, right? So sometimes it's not even just we want to get rid of them or release them or sell them off. Sometimes it's the players are like, look, I'm not getting time, I'm not getting minutes, or I got a better opportunity somewhere else, because some of these people are going to get approached, or probably already have been approached in some ethereal way, maybe not in official channels yet, right? Because now who knows? But it's possible that some players are getting approached with great offers from other teams, possibly in the championship, maybe even League One teams that have relatively deep pockets, although they're very few. Not many have those. So you start wondering. I would say it'd be 10 or under if I had to put a number on it. And like Kyle and Dylan said, I would really like to see several of our fan favorites follow us into the championship. I don't think it's a mystery who those people are. If you listen to us at all or anything, I think you guys know who holds a lot of respect from me, and I feel like plays really hard every time they're on the field. And those are players I want to keep with us and I think deserve a shot in the championship. I just feel like if you worked hard and you were part of what success we did have this year, although it's been relatively minimal, but if you were part of those successful moments pretty routinely, or you are a player that you can't really be questioned for your efforts for this club, I feel like you deserve that shot. But yeah, with all things considered, players that have been missing from the squad for so much time, players that, maybe might receive other opportunities. The fact that even NCFC, when they went up this year, they got rid of a lot of their squad, and their squad was destroying League One whenever they were in League One, when they won everything. So they were a really good team, and even they did a lot of turnover before they officially went and embarked upon their championship journey. So I don't think we're going to see a ton of people back.
I just want to clarify. My response was a little weird, and I gave player names, but I realistically probably I'm guessing a number of maybe like 5 or 6 around there. I guess you would say 5.5 is the over under. And there are obviously people who I think should stay. And then there are people who like the directors think should stay as well. And there are so many different factors. Like Kyle pointed out, it's like who already has obligations, who's going to want to leave, who, we really don't know like what that, who the coach is going to be next season, like there's so many factors. So I'm really sticking to like a 5.5. There are, like I said, there are players who I would really hope, to stay, not only because of their like stats and performance, but like how they present themselves to the fans and how they represent the badge, because that is very important to me, and I think important to fans as well.
I agree.
And I would say too, Dylan, you mentioned if there's a change in coaching staff too, that kind of puts I mean, that puts a huge, variable into this whole equation. And so, even without that, it would be hard to justify, I think, let's say ownership wants to stick with this current staff. Okay, fine. Well, if you're telling me as a current staff and I'm part of the ownership that we can take half of this team, Tyler, to your point, saying 10 players, we're going to take half this team up to USL Championship and compete. Like, I don't know how that's possible, because it's been 2 seasons of, being near the bottom. And I don't know if that's all on the players. Like, I don't, I think 10 maybe is the right number. It's just, but it takes the right staff and the right personnel to put them together, because I see, and I think the three of us and a lot of fans see the high end of a lot of these guys like Tate Robertson, who haven't had the amount of minutes that they had last year, right? Or even some of the newcomers that really haven't had a chance to dig into who we think they can be for a lot of different reasons, whether it's injury or just opportunity. And so there are a lot of players that I think there are maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 that are solid. Like, we need to make sure they are part of this going forward, because you have to have some type of continuity, I think, to establish a culture. But then there's some like that, there's still a question mark. Like, we don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to think of a lot of these guys. Like, it again, a lot of it comes down to opportunity and health. But it's hard to make heads or tails of a lot of these players that really haven't had a chance. And who knows what would have happened, a whole sliding doors type of moment, with health with a lot of these players too. So that's a really tough answer, to where it's like, could I see 2 or 3 players? Yeah. Could I see 10 to 12? Maybe. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle, but we'll see.
I truly think that the team that we have right now was built in order to kind of move up to the championship, like just the amount of star power and like, the price tags on these guys. Like I imagine Cameron Lancaster isn't cheap, right? And I imagine he was probably told that, maybe he would, if he came here with the intention they would go to move up to the championship, like that was maybe promised to him. So like if we have a different coach in the situation, then do you keep the roster that you built for, to maybe maybe move up. It's like it really depends on that situation as well, how many people you keep, because it's a different system and all that. So like if you change the coach, you could realistically keep 11 guys, like, so just
Yeah.
depends.
Yeah. And I mean, we have talent there. Like all these players have talent. That's why they're put in the squad with the idea that we are going to go up to the championship and they could have a part in that because they have the talent, they have the drive. I think that maybe this year the club is learning though that culture matters a whole heck of a lot. Like that maybe is more important than raw talent at the end of the day. It's how you put it all together and then say this is what our heart and soul is, and this is how we're going to present ourselves, and this is how we're going to play. And I think that that's maybe, one of those growing pains. And so that's our next step. That's our next step. We're moving up to the championship. Now we have to say, okay, we got our lessons. We had a little bit of that year of the heart and soul were there, but results weren't. We had a year of the talent was there, but the results weren't. So how do we kind of mush these things together and really make sure that these two things are married in a way that we have results whenever we're going up to this tougher competition, because right now the championship is looking at us like, what are y'all doing? Like I see the memes, I see the tweets, I see the comments that maybe not everybody else does, and we've got to be prepared. We have to do something to be ready to go. Otherwise, it's going to be ugly, and it's going to be hard. For a young club that's still trying to grow, you can't let it be ugly. You can't. We've had a couple seasons of ugly, at least results wise. We can't do a third, I don't think, and then hope to fill that stadium and pack it full of fans. So we'll see what happens next. Let's switch some gears a little bit. We have an overarching question. Maybe I should have let off with this one earlier because there are two specific to our matchup with Greenville. And maybe I could have popped those in a little bit sooner, but I kind of wanted to get out the icky question out of the way. Although it wasn't too bad. I think we've had worse. So let's talk about these. So Tim Meadows, member of the Railbirds, the guy with the megaphone. You guys know him. He's wearing the overalls, shouting every match, leading everybody in the chants. He was asking us, with Jamie Smith's 2-goal contributions this year for LSC, 1 assist and 1 goal, where does he rank on the all-time team list for LSC? I like this question a lot. I should have brought this up when we were talking about Jamie. This is just becoming Jamie Smith's show. It's just because I'm going to miss him so much. He brought a lot to the table for our rivalry. I actually looked this up. I did. Jamie Smith isn't that big of a contributor. I mean, you might think he would be. He's like tied with 8 other guys for 11th in club history for goals, and he's tied for 12th in assists with like 6 other guys all time. So not a huge contributor, but enough. The fact that he is who he is and he plays for who he plays for, I'm going to say he's top on both. He's the top goal and assist contributor of all time for LSC. Just because that's what I got to go with. Yeah, we also had another Greenville related question. Now that we cleared that one up, Gio, who we actually already brought up, I thought he was going to send us a snarky question. Yeah, I thought he was. He likes to send those little questions that I'm like, I'm not answering that, dude. I'm not going to talk about this on the pod. I know what you're trying to do right here. And he might be trying to do something with this one. I don't know. He's crafty like that. He might be looking for meme material. Who knows? But a lot of people who listen, I don't think, are on Twitter, so it doesn't matter. You guys will be spared from it. I'll just have to deal with it. He asked, what has been our favorite and least favorite Green Team Gauntlet memories? So favorite and least favorite for us from our rivalry with Greenville.
I mean, I think Artez's goal to win, I mean, that's just a great moment. Like
with the back heel assist from Jamie.
Yeah.
I mean, in the second minute, that one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my answer.
Hold that victory the whole time.
Yeah.
Very nice.
That was good.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Great first touch. Great pass too. I think it was Mendez. Right,
yeah,
who provided the long ball over the top, and just a beautiful first touch from Artez. I know we had some help from Smith as well, but I mean that's got to be the top. I mean,
yeah,
for sure.
Those are good ones. I'm gonna go a little bit different. Mine is because over the years of doing this content, actually one of the first people to kind of welcome me into the USL1 fold were Gio, and then Brandon Mays, who does a podcast for Greenville. He didn't used to do a podcast for Greenville. He used to do like just general league wide stats. We do all kinds of charts and graphs. Many of you guys have probably actually seen some of his player charts and graphs in my write-ups because he would actually mock those up for me whenever I would go to do those. But both of those guys ended up creating a pretty good friendship, a rivalry-laced friendship. But I went to Greenville last October. It was our very last game of the season. It was the one where Nacho Nova was in charge. We had a win in our grasp, and then the very last second, Jamie Smith stole it from us, like literally last couple seconds, and then we ended up drawing with them. But it was just a cool experience for me and my wife when we went out to visit, because even though we didn't get the points, and even though it was at a rival's stadium and I had to listen to them all go crazy when Jamie Smith scored, it was a neat thing experiencing like what this league is and going to a rival stadium and still having like a cool time. It was still a cool time. Like the people there were cool. They were nice. It was all like in good fun. It was neat seeing like the culture of other fans, like celebrating the way that they like do their chants and the way they get into the match. And then seeing us battle. And then also just it being our last game of that season. It was weird going down on the field. I had my media pass. I went down there to talk to a few of the players and then some of the staff. And it was a really bittersweet feeling, because we had just completed our very first season in the league and it was over. and it was cool because I was there to see it. But then it was also one of those moments where I'm like, oh man, what's going to happen now? Like what's next? What do we do from here? So that's mine. That's mine. I know it was a little bit off the beaten path and a little bit sentimental, but you know what I am.
Yeah, I still think it's Artesta's goal. Like just
yeah. Still the win with Artest. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
actually,
yours was cool, I guess. Whatever.
Let me turn off my emotion switch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Greenville was Artest's goal. His first touch was phenomenal. Jamie Smith gave him the assist, and you guys lost. Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
In those ugly kits.
Yeah, ugly kits. Look like Moon Man. I don't know. Were they wearing the Moon Man ones?
I think they were the purple ones.
Okay.
I don't remember.
They were the Moon Man ones. I don't know about the Moon Man ones. Anyway, what about worst? What's the worst?
Worst moments?
Yeah.
I mean, losing the game at home at Toyota Stadium. That was not
because of Jamie Smith.
Yeah, that one wasn't fun.
That wasn't fun.
Yeah, no. Especially because I acted like a ass and heckled the shit out of him that game too. That like afterwards, I felt like an ass.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
That's got to be mine too. The way that took the wind out of our sails.
Yeah.
Like everybody that was watching, it just was like, oh, okay. Well, we just lost. This is horrible. I hate soccer now. That's definitely mine. Kyle.
I don't. Yeah. I mean, that's probably it. There was a defeat earlier this season that wasn't great at Toyota Stadium.
Yeah.
I'm kind of going through the match. I'm trying to like go through like Amal Knight getting the red card.
Yeah.
Figuring out like what's going on, and then that was a bummer.
That one sucked too.
Yeah, I'm kind of going through the match, the last, however many matches we played, 6 or whatever matches that we've had head to head. And it's like, I don't like that I can't just pick one, but that was a crazy second half. Just that whole second half was wild. Going into that one up, going into the half on a stoppage time goal from Isaac. And then all the stuff that just happened in the second half, and to lose 3-2 at home, that was
It's another one of those. I think that's like, it's always the theme whenever we do lose against them or when we draw. It's always like a last second heartbreak. And I think that's what made this such a rivalry, though, is it was always like, I'll get you next time. You know what I mean?
A lot of tension.
You want to yell that.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. It's just like, man, I can't believe they just stole that from us again. Yeah, it's hard to choose just one. That one though last year though with Jamie getting that last moment goal. Oh, that sticks out though. That hurt. That hurt bad. Especially like stupid celebration. Stupid stealing Messi's celebration, running
We didn't
over
lose,
and doing that
but
to us.
that wasn't a loss though, right? So that's
Wait, that first one? Yeah, I think you're right. But it just
that was just
I don't know.
that was a I think to bring it level. So I mean,
Yeah, but he does that all the time, and it just makes me angry.
yeah, I know.
I don't like him. I don't like him, and I couldn't
I
choose the
mean,
other time he did it because I said that was my favorite memory. Not him doing that, just being there to experience our last match of the season after all the culmination of everything. Yeah.
yeah.
I will say, on a sentimental note, like you did, Tyler, it was nice to get to know like Gio and Brandon and, be on their podcast with those guys. And, it's not something, it's something out of my comfort zone for sure. Like I'm very much an introvert. I very much like to keep to myself and, interacting with Gio, online and, with the banter. It brought me out of my shell a little bit, so that was nice, and I appreciate it, and it was always fun, and I appreciate all the Dragon Ball Z memes, as well.
Right. And now they have to just be fans of us in the championship. We have to be their championship team now.
For sure.
Locked in. I'm gonna make them cheer for us. That way they can see us rise to power. It'll be epic. We'll lock it down next year. It'll be fine. All right, let's do this last one before we move into the USL Super League result. So this is actually from the Railbirds. So the Railbirds apparently, well, by the time you listen to this, it'll probably have been released. But while we're talking about it, it's not been released. They're gonna release the polls for the winner of the Golden Horseshoe, which, if you're not familiar, at the end of every season, they release the poll. You get to vote on which player you think deserves the honor of receiving the Golden Horseshoe for the season. And to be clear, it's not necessarily an MVP situation. It really isn't just stats based. Their idea behind this award is like somebody who embodies the club, who gives it all for the badge, who you feel like when you see them get out onto that field, you know that they're going to pour blood, sweat, tears for this club. So that's what the award is. So they want to know who we would pick, who we're going to vote for whenever they release this. So everybody else gets to be anonymous. We have to say it out loud. Unless you don't want to, you can plead the fifth. Like there's no Railbird standing on the other side of the camera, staring at me menacingly with like leather gloves doing this.
Prove it.
And ready to, knock my teeth out. So
yeah.
Who wants to go first?
No, the like who we think should win it or who would be like the favorite to win it? Is that what you're asking?
No, like who we're voting for. That's
who
what they asked.
Your
like,
vote is.
Oh,
who
gotcha.
is each of our picks? Like who are we going to put down?
Tyler, I think you should go first.
Oh, okay.
Because
no,
I think Kyle
last time no. Last time you did this,
I got in trouble for going first. Yeah.
Well, we always go first.
Amal Knight. I said it. Amal Knight. All right, Tyler, you can go second.
Okay, well, I was really torn. I'll be different here, because Amal Knight, I feel like, yeah, duh. But I want to be different than you, Kyle. Nico Brown. I'm gonna say Nico Brown. Dylan.
Yeah. To me, it's between those two guys. I'm leaning towards Nico. So that would be my vote.
And I gotta be real clear, y'all. If you haven't listened to this enough, I'm crazy indecisive. So I can't even say that's for sure. You like how it all plays out. I'm gonna make like a bunch of fake accounts just so I can vote for more than one person.
What's your least favorite part about Amal Knight's game, Tyler?
Least favorite.
Like since
that
you
he doesn't
you're not
point
vote for
to me
him.
specifically.
Like
whenever he saves a shot, he doesn't point directly.
You're
to
not
me
going to vote for him, so I'm just curious.
Tyler, that's because we're best friends. Like if he did that, no, but for real though, that is such a tough choice, and I'd be curious actually to see what other people think, and I guess we will see what other people think because I feel like there are some players on this team, in all seriousness, that like you could pin that down and say this person I have zero doubts that when they're on that field, they're going to be putting everything in. And I feel like Amal and Nico are two of those players for sure. Like, I don't think anybody can say that they don't. Like, if you have a problem with some aspect of their game, whatever, that's between you and whatever stat thing you're looking at. But the thing that's not a stat is heart and soul and how much you embrace the badge. And I don't think anybody can question those guys. And if you are questioning them, maybe it's out of jealousy. I don't know, because those guys, they do it all and they put it out there for the fans. So I'm not trying to sway anybody's vote out there. You vote for who you feel, because if you feel like somebody deserves it, other than those two, respect. I don't blame you. Go with your heart. Listen to your heart. I don't know the rest of the song. I should. It's a really old song, but that's where I'm gonna stop with.
Yeah, keep going.
It's the ADHD part of me. I can't. It's just
Go
like
off.
seeped out of my brain, and now I'm like thinking like, oh man, who am I gonna vote for? Now I'm stuck on that. Now I just keep obsessively thinking like, I want to vote for both, but they won't let me. Railbirds, you'll let me vote for both, right? Can I vote as Crane Kicks Lex and as Tyler?
No, we don't sanction that.
Dang. I'm gonna do both. I'm gonna make fake accounts. My wife, she can submit a vote. I can submit a vote. Yes, there we go.
You might as well just not vote in that case.
No,
No,
you're just splitting the vote.
Yeah, what's the point?
No, yeah, all right. I don't know. I'm gonna abstain then. I guess I don't know. Too indecisive. Care too much. Okay, let's move on because I'm getting all wrapped up in this. Let's talk about some Super League stuff. We have a point against the top team in the league yet again. 2 times now. 2 matches with Carolina Ascent, 2 draws, 2 points. I wish we had more points in general, but you can't be mad at that performance against a top team. It's tough. It was a tough match. Carolina, I just got to say, crazy physical team. Crazy physical. I'm actually surprised more fouls weren't called throughout, because there were like several times where their players were absolutely just like trucking our players. Like, it was like watching Bobby Boucher play soccer. And I would look over and I'm like, what the heck? Did he just like 2 foot 2 studs up tackle somebody in like the ribs? And then like, the ref is like, oh, that was actually a foul on Lexington. Your ribs were in the way. I'm like, what are you doing? So they were, I don't know. They were a very, very tough team physically, very organized, very much ferocious on the attack. I knew it was going to be a tough match. I kind of thought we could pull out a win, though, because we had their number so much that first time around. But obviously, they've had time to prepare. They've had time to get momentum. They've had time to kind of solidify. They were a tough one. I mean, it was a cool match to attend, though. I already talked about the Oktoberfest side of things. Before we get in the match too much, what do you guys think of the pink breast cancer awareness kits that they were wearing that are being auctioned off, signed on the 9th, I believe?
I am a big fan of these. I have a lot of sentimental attachment to the cause. So I am a really big fan of these kits, and I love how they look. So I'm very, very in favor of these. I'm gonna try to get one myself. We'll see if that happens.
Yeah, I mean,
Nice.
it's cool. It's cool seeing the kit for a cause come out, and obviously a very, very worthy cause to pull them out for. So it was cool to see, and a nice kind of surprise too for the fans.
I agree. I think that's something we've been waiting for a long time. I know we went on a little rant about it whenever Knoxville did the Red Panda kit, and like proceeds were going to the zoo and everything and conservation efforts. And we're like, oh my gosh, we want one so bad. We want us to do that. I will say, I don't know if it's in their plans. It's something I'm going to ask. I hope that they like release them in general, like even if it's a limited supply, because I know they're doing like the match worn ones that are signed that you can purchase. I have no idea how much they're going to be or whatever, but I hope like just general ones are released, even if it's just through the month of October, and then like as an ordered basis or something. I think that'd be really neat and a great opportunity to like garner more funds for it. I think a lot of people would invest because, like you said, Dylan, like you're personally affected by that.
Yeah.
I've had people in my family that have had breast cancer, and I think a lot of people have had people in their family that have had breast cancer or experienced it themselves. So I think that is a cause that a ton of people would be more than willing to support, while also having a sweet Lexington Sporting Club kit. They look really cool in person. I actually don't think the pictures do them justice. I know like some people online were like, well, it's just pink. And it's like, yeah, but I mean, it's cool. It's cool. It's for a good cause. Like the point is that we're not sitting there trying to be like, Madison and being like, look at this flamingo skateboarding, eating Danimals, and all the proceeds go to Ford Madison. Like we're making a kit that's for the cause. It's you know what I mean. You're buying it to support something that's important to people's lives. So if you guys are just listening, you can't see. Like I think Dylan's gonna pass out. He's laughing too hard. I'm a funny guy, aren't I?
Oh, you killed it then.
I know. I do that sometimes, but I would seriously buy one though. I would like to get one of the signed
No,
ones. I just don't know how easy it'll be to get them. But I would buy one if they were just on sale in general, and if the proceeds were still going to the same cause, I would do that. I'm not normally a pink guy, and it's not like a macho thing. It's I'm kind of shades of pink. So me wearing pink is a lot of pink going on for people. But I would rock it all day, every day because of the cause alone. So they're neat.
I think so too. And I think this could be a case where like people would buy like maybe multiple to like give to people, because I feel like I would give one to, my mom too.
Yeah. It's true.
So.
Yeah. I agree, man. I think it would be a hit. We'll see what happens though. Maybe that'll happen. Somebody out there will be listening and say, you know what? Why not? So maybe. All right, let's talk about this match a little bit more. Tough. We saw like some changes again. Cox is in goal. Skiba's not. We've seen that once before this season. So we're seeing a little bit of that Mike Dickey changeup. Emma Johnson, one of our academy players who was called up the last match against Brooklyn, now in the starting lineup, which was another change. We also had a professional debut from Macy Barlow. Macy Barlow was out there on the field for us too, another academy player that got called up and got some minutes for the first time ever, which was really awesome to see. And I feel like both of them definitely held their own, especially with how physical the game was. When we look at the entirety of this match, right, it felt like for how aggressive Carolina was and how much they were tearing up the wings, like they were operating pretty heavily on the wings. And I think some teams are starting to realize that about us, that we're very like compact. We like to stay like very much in the middle. And so they try and tear it up on the wings, get down, send in crosses, see if they can catch us off guard, which has worked for many teams and others, not so much. I feel like we were holding our own very, very well throughout a lot of this match for how much we were weathering the storm. We weren't having a lot of opportunities though, right? It seemed like we weren't getting as many shots on goal as maybe we would have liked. So we definitely had the feel of maybe we can squeak by with like a 0-0 draw, or maybe we'll get like a really good set piece goal, which we did. We'll come to it. It's a bummer though. We suffered just like with the men's side, an own goal. Maddie Perez tried to deflect the shot, kick it out of harm's way, and unfortunately took just a really bad deflection and then ended up going around Sarah Cox. Goal for Carolina, which, I always say this. I know we were joking about Jamie Smith scoring an own goal earlier, and we were kind of poking fun at him. But seriously, I always feel for any player that scores an own goal, especially if it was like an honest attempt at like, I'm doing my best here, and I think that this is going to work out. Yes, even Jamie, I felt bad. A little piece of me, not much, just a little microcosm. It was like, dang, that sucks, dude. I hate that for you, because I know what it does mentally to a player. You know what I mean? Like as a keeper, goals are going to get past you sometimes, and you kind of learn how to overcome that and kind of block that part of your brain out and be like, don't dwell on it. Don't get into it. But as a defender, own goals are just like a different beast, right? Because you feel like I was trying to help the team and it went in. So I really hope Maddie Perez does not take it too hard. Just like I hope Kaylin didn't take it too hard about what happened in the USL 1 game. It just sucks sometimes. Sometimes those things happen. You have the best intentions. You're trying to make a play on the ball to help your team. Bite you, which stinks. But we did have that shining moment at the end, though, right? We ended up having a goal clawed back. It seemed dicey. I can't even believe we had like 7 extra minutes at the end, and then it ends up going into like plus 10. And then Maddie Perez, she's automatic, y'all. Like, she is automatic. She is insane. Like, talk about a set piece queen. Like, just the delivery is always on point. Sends in a beautiful cross. And then, of course, Kim Mendez manages to get ahead on it and then scores for us. Storybook ending. Could have been a win, of course, but a point with that type of fight was amazing. But I feel like as much as we wanted to win, a draw against a team like Carolina, that's a solid move. That's a solid shift. Dylan, what did you think about the game, man?
I felt like it had a very similar tone to the first home game. And where like at the end of the game, it felt like if there was more time added, we could have maybe gotten another goal or something. And it kind of felt like that to me in this game as well. Like kind of a lot of bang bang plays, just kind of two hard fought or two teams having a hard fought battle mostly. And there were chances both ways, but not like a ton. Just a lot of chess being played. It felt like, so like to squeak out a draw out of it, like after conceding the own goal, which like you said is very unfortunate, and we don't know without it if we would have been down a goal or not. So to eventually tie it up and squeak out some points. Like I think it's a good moral victory in a way. You could see it in the emotion. Like after we scored, they really had a lot of emotion. It was so evident, and the vibes in the interviews that you posted were pretty good vibes. And I felt like I really enjoyed what Mike Dickey had to say. Like he doesn't necessarily like coddle the players. He just speaks very open and honest about it, and but he speaks like very highly of his players as well. And the players, like they talked about how hard they worked and how they wanted to win, and like it felt like we could get that win just off vibes alone, and I think getting the points could maybe start something. I don't know if it will, but I think it's a big could. It could start something, could build momentum to maybe not start losing games, maybe go on a run where, a couple draws, maybe squeak out some home wins. I think this is a good start, good moral victory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kyle, go ahead, man.
Well, I was going to just say, you made a good point, Dylan, about the home opener looking a little bit like this match. And it's kind of a bummer that now the team's on a month plus, away trip, so to speak,
Yeah.
and not coming back home until November. And because it felt like the team looks comfortable, playing on that pitch. And obviously if you can replicate a result anywhere, it really shouldn't matter if you're home or away. But it's still, it kind of looked like something, working toward a positive result. Now the team is doing the Spokane, back to Fort Lauderdale, DC, Tampa. Like I think that's just going to be the nature of this league where it's just so much travel, and we'll see how the team responds to it. But it looked a lot like that first match at times when it was like promising. And every single time that a corner kick is sent like way far, like past the far post, or it like fizzles out on the near post, you just wonder like why can a player not just put it where Maddie Perez put it? Like that is just the perfect. It's just you make something happen, right? Like it's almost like I love, obviously you guys know now, like I like relating sports to other sports. And it's like in baseball when they say like just put the ball in play, make a play, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a similar thought to like make the defense make a play, make them stop you by putting this ball in a dangerous spot. And yeah, it was obviously couldn't have been timed any better. And that dangerous ball, it's just like it's so frustrating when players, you know, obviously there are set piece tactics that are way above my head. I get it, and easier said than done type of thing. But it's like sometimes you just put it in the right spot, and you know, good things will happen.
It's true, man. And at this point, it's not a fluke. There's no right. Like she has 4 assists, leading the league in assists. The next closest is 2. A lot of people tied up with 2. She's got 4, and every single one is pinpoint. And it's not even just corners. Like she takes any type of dead ball situation and turns it into a legitimate scoring opportunity. Doesn't matter what players are in the box or in the area that she's sending it to. She always manages to find that space. That's such an impressive skill. That like sending the ball through the air and you still find who you're trying to find, you know. And I know a lot of times it's just like I see 4 people there, I'm sending it into that general area. It's up to them to make a play on the ball, but that's still a skill set, right? That's still like getting it to that general area where you know it's most dangerous. And she's got that locked down. Like we're talking about invaluable. That skill alone makes her invaluable to this team, let alone all of her other contributions that she makes, right? A ton of things. And, you know, another player who had really great performance too is Sarah Cox. You know, she came in for her second start ever with us, had some clutch saves, like absolutely amazing saves in that match. And it's still tricky getting a hold of stats for Super League. So, you know, we're coming upon having a little bit in the way of resources. You know, the match center that Super League provides, and then, you know, American Soccer Analysis has some stuff, but it's not quite where the men's game is or even NWSL, which is a shame. And I hope that picks up here soon. But I would have loved to have seen some deeper stats on her play because I feel like she had a really amazing game, super phenomenal in goal, and she has great delivery down the field. So it was a good game from the ladies, just from the standpoint of there was 0 quit, which I think we've seen time and time again, no matter who's out there, because we saw another set of changes, right? Like Mike Dickey, he changes things an awful lot, and who knows, could be injuries that we don't really know about. It could be trying to rotate the squad for the sake of their health. It could be rotating the squad because he's looking at it tactically and saying, against this team, you guys are going to be the ones that are going to really make an impact versus you all. I need you ready to go for this squad that we're going to face next. But that rotation, I think we're coming to a point where it's going to start paying off more and more. You know, this wasn't just like another team towards the bottom of the table. This was a really tough team that's been doing really, really well against a lot of others in the league. And I got to like drive it home again. You know, when we look at things like offensively, I know we've not been like juggernauts scoring goal after goal after goal every single match, but we're about upper middle of the league in regards to goal production. And we're actually, I think, still in the top 2, top 3 with efficiency on goals, like shots taken versus goals scored. We're still a really efficient team, but I'm hoping that we can find more goals as we kind of settle in even more and, you know, try and limit other teams because they still had quite a few chances. And I think, like I said earlier, a lot of teams are starting to figure out that they can kind of get down those outer channels and then send in a ball pretty easily because we play so centrally. But, you know, I also understand you got to have those channels clogged up in the center. You don't want somebody running straight at your goal and then just letting one rip and then it going right in. So I think we're picking up momentum. We're going to see some things happen for us. I'm going to call it now. I'm saying we get a win next weekend. I think that when we go to Spokane, we come away with 3. I got good vibes from it. I got good vibes from the way we were playing. Spokane hasn't necessarily been a juggernaut themselves. Not that they're bad or anything. They're a solid team. I just think that this is one where our hunger is going to pay off and it's going to lead us to 3 points. But maybe I'll be right. Maybe not. It's good. I do got to say, though, I have to say this. We need more people coming out to these games. It's a minute before we come back, and it's probably going to be a little bit chillier by the time the ladies get back this way, which is it's another test of attendance, right? But by that point, the men's season will probably be well and done. So I'm hoping more people come out. I know official match attendance was like over 1,000 there, but it was pretty sparse for a beautiful Sunday with $3 beers, Oktoberfest, the pink kits being debuted. So I hope a lot more people come out to these women's matches because these ladies, they play hard. They play hard, and if anything, it's an entertaining match in my opinion. But I don't know. What do you feel about our chances, guys? How are you feeling about where we're going from here?
Like I said, I think we could probably pull out some more draws and maybe turn a few, maybe force a few games where draws become wins late into matches. I mean, we can do that. We have scored late a few times. So I think if we can, maybe flip the game on its head a little bit and get into a draw scenario for fighting for a win instead of a loss fighting for a draw, that'd be good. But I liked the vibe from Sunday's game.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because it felt like the league got really top heavy and bottom heavy, like super quickly, with some of the teams. But like we said, the last few podcasts, like it's still like we're finding things out about all these teams, and the fact that Lexington's now got both of its points off of the team that is currently in first is promising, I think. And now you go into a stretch where you're facing a DC team that's also winless. You mentioned the Spokane possibly coming away with victory next week. They've got one this season, so you're coming up on a stretch of matches that could be winnable. Obviously, Fort Lauderdale has proven to be pretty potent team to play, but all things considered, I think the team is moving in the right direction. You kind of start worrying a little bit when the wins aren't there, but it seems like a super like spread out league in terms of talent. So I don't know if any one team or two teams are really going to run away with it at the end of the day. I think that's kind of how it started, but I think as things continue to settle, you'll see some more even results from team to team, match to match. And I think, there's going to be some teams obviously that stand out toward the end of the season, but I think that overall, like USL League One, even like there's going to be a lot of parity as well. So hopefully this next stretch of 4 road matches is fruitful for this team. And then, coming back home on my birthday, by the way, November 9th, in case anyone's wondering,
That'll be the event for the game.
If you want to get me a gift or something, like whatever, fine. But all I really want is 3 points.
Yes.
So,
there we go. Kyle's birthday gift is 3 points. Maybe that can be like the LSC sponsored theme. Kyle's birthday, and it'll just be a big birthday bash for you.
That'd be fine.
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
Just do that. And then, you go down on the field and everybody throws gifts at you. And
can we have a Kyle dunk tank?
Let's do it.
Where I get to dunk people in a tank?
No.
We throw baseballs.
You got to kick. You got to kick.
You got to do a soccer ball.
Yeah.
Come on, Kyle. We got to dunk Kyle with a soccer ball to the bullseye, knock him down. Even better.
I would be bone dry if you two were kicking at the time.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Dry.
I think we should have champions we can call up. So I get to say one of our Super League players. I can call him as my champion and be like, "Go for me, please, dunk Kyle," and then they purposely miss.
Well, if it's a Super League game, they'll be playing. So I'll just call up Lancaster or Ates.
No, even better. We'll just put Kyle in the dunk tank, in the enemy goal during the game, and extra incentive to score.
I'd be fine with that, actually.
Let's do it. There we go.
It'd be a little chilly though, so if we can warm up that water beforehand.
Polar plunge could be a charity event.
I'm not about polar plunges. So
it's too late, Kyle. It's already been spoken.
Okay.
Your birthday's now a charity event, so well, we got that settled. All right, man. Okay, but I mean, I think you have a good point though, Kyle. In all seriousness, I think that it was a lot of teams feeling out what's going on and who each other are, and so you ended up with like this top-heavy system of okay, well, these are like the juggernaut teams. But I do think that things are going to even out a little bit more as we keep going. I agree with you 100% on that. I don't think it's necessarily going to be like here's your consistent top three, and here's everybody else way down here. So that's my hope anyway. All I can say is like watching the women celebrate after that goal, like Dylan had said, like the passion and what it meant to them was crazy to watch. Like the emotion that they expressed after getting that, it was like winning a championship game. And you want that every time, right? You want players to be like, we got points and this means something to us. And that was really, really good to see. And I think that just shows the drive and the fight that's there. I think they're in it. They're in it for the right reasons. I think they're in it for the badge. Obviously, they want to do good for each other, for themselves. But I think they all also really understand the opportunity that they've been given to come play here, and they want to impress our city. They want to do our city proud. I think it's going to be that way. I think that they're going to work towards that goal and then continue to improve. And I can't wait to see it. And I think that winter break that they have might do us some good, just for players settling in. I know we had some players with some pretty significant injuries, like before the season even started, but you never know. Maybe some people will start getting healthy, and then maybe that last like quarter of the season or so, we get some reinforcements. You never know. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how long it takes to recover from certain things, but that's always an opportunity that you have. And then if anything, it's an opportunity for readjustments, try and figure things out during that little break and then kind of go from there. No matter what, though, it's a fun watch. And I think that we got a really good team from a sense of where their mentality is and who they are and what they're playing for. But it's good. I like it. So we've got matches away for both teams coming up. Like you said, Kyle, the ladies go on a pretty long stretch of away matches. The guys have an away match before they come back and face Charlotte here at home. That'll be our second to last game of the season. So time is winding down. We're closing out the USL1 season. The Super League season is not anywhere close to over. We still have months and months of it to go. Even if you take the little break in the winter out of the mix, it's still quite some time. We go all the way into May, I believe, if I remember right. They released the second half of the schedule just the other day. So that's available for everybody to see. And now we know who we're playing and when we're playing them. So that's all been settled. Everything's kind of set in place for the rest of the season, and we'll kind of see how things shake out as we keep going. But you guys have any final thoughts before we let everybody go after this long episode?
I think I'm good.
Yeah. Good. Perfect. All right, everybody. Make sure when the ladies do return home, you get those tickets. Come watch and support them. The guys have one final game against Charlotte. Hopefully, we'll still be in contention for the playoffs at that point. Even if we aren't, come out, cheer on the guys, enjoy some Lexington soccer, bring everybody you can, talk it up for either team. Try and get people out. Do whatever you can to get them out. Watch for those ticket specials. Watch for the special events. Come have fun. It's a blast when you're out there. There's nothing like having our own stadium. So I hope that you guys can experience it with friends. I hope you bring out as many people as you can that maybe haven't had that opportunity. Maybe get them hooked, ready to keep supporting our team, grow the fan base, and everybody kind of get out there together. So I don't have anything else. You know what it is. We just got to do it one last time, right? So until we come back to you all with some more hopefully good news, come on, you Greens.